Hey guys, it's finally time to switch over to a new bullet journal. I am so glad to be able to switch to a journal with thicker paper so I no longer have to deal with the ghosting and bleeding that happens in my 2020 journal. I got an Archer and Olive journal in the B5 size because I felt like the A5 size was just too small last year, but I actually didn't check the measurements of the B5 and it's a lot bigger than I was expecting, so maybe I'll be regretting this later in the year. On a side note, hopefully you think the sound quality is good because I'm using a microphone that's meant for this SingStar PS2 game we have. I was thinking it would work better than using the earbuds mic that I used for my voiceover in my previous videos because this one just seems more professional, but I'll actually have to compare my videos to see which sound quality is actually better. The SingStar microphone is also a lot more fun to record with as it feels like I'm giving a speech rather than just talking normally. Maybe by the end of January, I'll actually invest in a real microphone though. So to start off the setup, I have the grid spacing guide. I don't really use this because my spreads always have different layouts, but I still included it in case I finally get to using it so I can speed up the time I spend on a spread. So here I am splitting up the page into halves, and I messed up and will fix it soon, since I'm quite terrible at counting it seems like. I'm always using the white jelly roll to fix my mistakes, but for some reason the blue Mildliner had some black on it and now it looks really weird, so I didn't really fix this mistake too well. I also kept losing count, so I had to actually put dots on this page to make sure I was counting correctly to split up the page. With all my mistakes, I gave up on dividing the page into thirds and tried to finish this as soon as possible. I think this page is really ruined, especially with my terrible handwriting for the grid spacing guide, but oh well. I left a spot for a quote that I'll work on later. I worked out of order a lot and this video is actually already rearranged so the spreads are more in order, but in reality my brain was not organized in a way to do one page at a time. If I had the original process, it would probably be really hard to follow what order the spreads were in. So on this page I'm doing a future log, but I actually messed up. I drew lines for the exact number of weeks there are in a month, but I wanted to write down the days of the week, so I should have included an extra line, like if the month had 6 weeks, 7 spaces, 5 weeks, 6 spaces, but I didn't do that. And I only had enough space to write the numbers. I didn't really know how to fix this mistake, so I ended up going with it, but I really like how it ended up turning out. I was going with like a navy blue star theme, so the colors I used were yellow, blue, black, and white. It reminds me of the prom invitation of my junior year in high school. Lol, that was an interesting time. I just wrote out the month with some cursive to the best of my abilities. I used the darkest blue Tombow brush I had, and just a reminder, all the supplies I'm using are in the description below if you really care. I really liked the look of the super bold 2021 written out, but I didn't feel like it popped out enough, so I outlined it in this white Archer and Olive Acrylograph pen, which I will have a video later with my Archer and Olive haul. Lol, I don't know if it's actually a haul because there's just 3 items, but anyways, I'll review and swatch the pens and give my impressions of everything I got. My handwriting is still a work in progress, but I still really like how the spread turned out. So now I'm outlining all the other pages with Tombow brush pens from the pastel set. I wanted the theme to be pastel colors, but one of the pinks in the pastel set is actually super bright, so it doesn't look super pastel-y anymore. So this is what it looks like when I flip through it all, and I have my ideal day. So I decided to include the spread because I thought it'd be nice to have a guideline for what I should be doing during a certain time of day, or else I just keep saying I did nothing all day but not have an idea of what I actually want to be doing during that time. I have it starting from 6 a.m. to 10 because I want to wake up at 6 and sleep at the latest 10 p.m. I have the most energy in the morning, so I consider myself to be a morning person, but when I sleep late, I also wake up late, so I don't just magically wake up early all the time, like some early people do. So for all these pages, I used a banner for the title because my handwriting isn't super flexible, like I can't easily create different fonts, so to make the titles a little special, I added the banner. I also need to work on making headers look a little cuter in my 2021 bullet journal. Doing all the banners and working this way instead of one page at a time just makes more sense to me. I later went back and colored in all the banners with a kind of matching Mildliner. Honestly, all these spreads look kind of empty to me, so hopefully once I actually start putting stuff on the spreads, it'll look less empty, and if not, maybe I'll figure out some doodles to add in last minute. These 2 pages are my happy and thankful things because I think having these pages to look over and reread might allow me to get out of my down days better. This is also my best effort at hand lettering. The happy things words look a little weird, but I think thankful things turned out pretty good. The next one is completed books. I'm not sure why I keep starting on the right, and then on the left it'll be dances to learn. In my AP Lit class last year, we were supposed to set goals, and my reading goal was to read 12 books, and as of now, I only have 6 books read, and there's like 2 weeks left of December. If I end up reading a Jane Austen novel per day, then I actually might make it, but I highly doubt I'll complete this goal. And for the dances to learn, I want to challenge myself to start a K-pop cover channel, so it will force me to exercise, and it's something I can put effort in. I'm going to write down every song that I think has a cool dance, and hopefully I will be motivated to learn them so I can cross out the songs and feel accomplished. Next one is expenses, so I can track my spending habits, and maybe this will help me to determine whether I deserve to buy something. By that I mean if I notice I spend too much on pens, then I need to start deciding which pens I want instead of buying everything. The last one is bullet journal ideas. I usually keep them on a Google Keep note, but it makes the most sense for it to be in my bullet journal. Lastly, I added stickers to fill in the empty spaces because I'm terrible with spacing, and I also touched up on some of the words. Next, I'm adding things for the layout of my spread. For the dances to learn and expenses, I have these charts. For the books, I'll actually be drawing books, but I don't know how the title will fit, so I thought it was best to not draw those ahead of time. The ideal day is still a work in progress, as I never really thought about what the perfect day would be. I have some things written down, but I'm not sure if I want to do those things in that order or if they're in the right time frames. I probably should figure out exact times rather than having time frames, because I will be using it as a guide for my day and not follow it super strictly anyways. Having a vague idea won't really be good guidance for an ideal day. As I think about my ideal day, I'm sure I'll get a better idea of it, because as of now, this just doesn't feel right. Here are the actual bullet journal ideas. I'm really excited for February because I'll be using that cotton candy theme, and I'm going to be using gouache. Now on to the goals. For YouTube, if I actually upload consistently, I thought it would be cool if I could get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. From the YouTubers I watch, they say it takes them like 2 to 3 years to get to like 500,000. So hopefully 1 year and 4 months I can reach 100,000. But it really depends on how much effort I put in. For my Instagram followers goal, the numbers are a lot smaller because I'm not exactly sure what numbers I'd like to reach. Also, a lot of my focus is on YouTube, and the dance cover account is really just for fun. So even if nobody watches them, I can look back and see the improvement. Hopefully there is improvement of my dancing skills. The Instagram for the YouTube account is just so I can interact with some viewers, but there's always the comment section, so I'm not sure how much I'll be actually using this Instagram. Lol. Go follow them anyways! Now on the right, I have some random goals. A lot of them aren't really measurable, but I wasn't sure how to categorize my non-social media goals. Some things I wrote down are breaking out of my comfort zone and to stop dwelling on the past. I wrote them down to be reminded of these things and to work on them this 2021 year. I also have goals more easily measured, like whether I went to a concert or not. Hopefully I will be in LA by 2021 fall at the very latest, and if housing is open in the summer, I'm thinking about doing a summer session, and LA has all the K-pop concerts, so hopefully I'll be able to see one after quarantine is over. Also, speaking of K-pop, at the time I'm editing this video, KBS Song Festival happened, and dang, those performances were insane. I haven't been watching music shows recently, especially since the groups I stan haven't been promoting, but these performances were so good. My favorite was definitely the NCT 2020 Resonance stage. These boys have really grown on me hecka fast. I only started standing NCT in 2018, but they're near the top of my stan list. I highly recommend you go check out the performances, and if you have already watched it, go rewatch it again. Now back to the spread. Of course I have no patience, so I kept smearing the paint pen before it dried, and yes, I did it twice. Then I added stickers just to make the page more lively. Next I have this quote, "A comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there." If I had a focus for the year, mine would definitely be to break out of my comfort zone. When I was with 2 of my friends, I was talking about this, and then they started repeating those words back to me since they also want to do the same thing. That day my friend decided to get a shirt that she wouldn't normally get, which is great that she wants to try something new, but that shirt just wasn't it. It had like SpongeBob on it. But anyways, she again mentioned she wanted to get out of her comfort zone. This really stuck in my head, and it made me really reflect on myself and how I'm super timid because I'm afraid of what might happen. Like recently I emailed my TA asking if there's anything to do to round up my grade. This was for my writing class that I worked really hard in. The grade of my first essay was a D, and the last grade was an A-. I went from a 68 to 90%, and I was 10 points away from an A-. So I wanted to ask if there was any chance he would round. Literally, it took me forever to actually send this email because I felt like I would be bothering him and asking for something that I shouldn't be asking for. But I kept thinking, the worst that happens is he says no. But I still had to worry about this for an entire hour, even after writing and revising an email. It's things like this that make me think I need to break out of my comfort zone or else I'll never be able to grow. I really like how it turned out with my handwriting, but the spread itself just looks a little empty. I don't know why, but all of them just feel that way to me. So moving on now, I have this other quote, "There is no elevator to success, you have to take the stairs." And I wasn't liking how the words turned out and how it was super hard to see. So several minutes later, I cut out a bunch of paper to make stairs and used scratch paper to decorate the outside. I originally really hated how this spread looked, but once I added the scratch paper, it turned out pretty good. This quote not only applies to school, but to this YouTube thing that I'm doing right now. I'm spending hours into this in order to establish a YouTube channel, but there's not a lot of progress. This quote reminds me that good things don't come easily, and it takes time and effort to get where you want. Like, you get to see me gluing the stuff in a couple of seconds, but in reality, this probably took 30 minutes. It looks good, but it took a really long time. Continuing on with my bullet journal, I worked super out of order, and here's the last part of my setup, even though it's the first thing. Again, I messed up. Hopefully with all my mess ups it shows you that nobody is perfect and that good things can come from making mistakes. Originally I told someone I would never get into bullet journaling because the mistakes would bother me endlessly, but now that I actually bullet journal, it's fun to figure out ways to fix mistakes, and sometimes it turns out even nicer. Even if it doesn't, it forces me to accept that everything can't be perfect in my life like I want it to be. Now that I'm almost finished, as you can tell, my vision board is also blank. I didn't fill it in yet because my printer ink is kind of weird, so I have to get that fixed before printing out images to stick in. And kind of like the ideal day thing, I'm not exactly sure what an ideal life would be, so I need to do some more thinking about that before I put anything in this. I'm continuously adding last minute details, so for the letter I included some lines to make it actually appear like a letter. And as I was looking at quotes, I looked up some from some K-pop idols, and the only one that really stuck out to me was this one. It says, "My dream isn't to become the best, it's to become someone who I'm not ashamed to be." And I really wanted to include this quote, so I put it in my goals page. And this quote is from Chinese Key. Something else I haven't done yet is write a letter from 2021 Wendy to 2022 Wendy. I really like the idea of opening letters in the future because I think it's super cool to reflect on who I was in the past and to see how much I've grown as a person. I did this once in 7th grade because my history teacher told us to, and she was supposed to give us the letters in 8th grade, but we never got them. To this day, I still wonder what I wrote in that letter. Anyways, that's the entire 2021 setup. The January setup will be coming soon. Now that I'm tired of editing, I'm going back to filming. That's it, and thanks for watching.